Hey you guys, it's Miranda here from the Snowlady's Education Design Team, and I'm here today with a tutorial showing you how to make the Snowlady top hat, if you will, that you saw pictured and probably saw on the blog as well. So we're going to use the Nutcracker Sweet paper that came in the kit this month, and then also I'm going to show you how to create some really cool molds just using stuff from around your house. Snowlady's does not endorse copying molds of any sort, any name brand, marketed things. So I was trying to be resourceful and think of things I could come up with using this amazing stuff because it's so fun. You can pretty much create anything. So I've created some chicken wire using the resin that I just used. Hold on, I'll show you really quickly. I used a basket from my home to make this mold. So you can see it's exactly the same. You can make these as big or small as you want. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I also made like a brick wall type mold, which I just did a little one to test it out, but I will do a bigger one. I don't know if I'm going to do this one or this one, but either way, I'm going to do a bigger, I'll probably do a bigger one of this just to show you can make your own little brick wall. So I guess we should do that first. And what you're going to need is in your resins and mold kits, you get these popsicle sticks. So that's all I use to make the brick one. This one I just flattened out my mold putty, and then stamped the basket down into it. And it was just like super quick, easy, done. You've already got this amazing cool little chicken wire texture thing. So just look around your house and see what you have that you can create some really cool elements. So what you're going to do is take your mold putty, and we're just going to use equal parts. Let me clear this off really quickly. And I'm going to get an acrylic block to use to flatten mine down. I found that works best. So I'm going to flatten it down right onto here. And I'm going to do a bigger one of the bricks this time, so that way it can stretch further. So I'm just going to take about this much. I'll show you when I roll it up into a ball. I'm using about that much. That's a pretty good amount. I'm actually going to use a little bit less because when I add the other one in there, it's going to be double that. So just kind of eyeball, figure out how big you want your mold to be. And now I am just scouring my house for other things that I can use to make really cool texture out of. Okay, so you just want to get equal parts. This is a 2-part mold system. You just need equal parts of each one, and just kind of roll them up into a ball. I found that works the best. And then you can just kind of eye it and see if they are the same. Once you get them into equal parts, just start meshing them together. Meshing, mixing, whatever you want to call it. Until you get one uniform color. You don't want any swirls of white and yellow. It's going to all be the yellow color, like a lighter version of it. You're just going to keep mixing it until it's all uniform. Sometimes I kind of roll it like that. And then make sure it's all even. And once you don't see any more swirls, you're going to roll it up into a ball again. And then this is where that acrylic block is going to come into play. And I'm just going to use one of my stamps to flatten this down. Not too flat because we want to be able to make our little marks in there, but pretty good and flat. Okay, so this is about how thick it is. I'm just going to lay that down. Okay, now for the brick part, all I did was go on here and go across it like this, pressing down and creating little indentations in the mold putty. And just try to keep them equally spaced out and straight. And you can kind of go back in. You only have about 2 minutes work time before this sets, so you don't want to wait too long. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this popsicle stick for my middle lines. So just cut a little chunk of it like that. And now I'm going to go, it's a little bit too big, cut a little bit more off. And now I'm just going to go in between each one and create my other grout lines. Just like that. So you're just creating a brick shape. And I'm a huge fan of like the chipboard brick elements like this. So this is just a really cool way to make your own. And you always have them on hand. And we're going to use this on our top hat as well. So just try to keep it pretty lined up. Okay, so that is pretty good for me. Bring it up here and show you what it looks like so far. So that is what you're going to have. And if you want to go in and make sure that you've got, you know, everything's connected, so it's one fluid piece of resin going in between them. I'm going to grab my popsicle stick back really quick and just make sure all my lines are touching one another. So that is good. This takes about 30 minutes to dry. The box will say, I usually just let it sit aside for a while and then come back to it. So I'm going to move this over here and we're going to go ahead and finish up on our snow hat. Okay, so now for the top hat, what you're going to need to do is pick out a couple of sheets of the paper that you want to use. I want my base to be out of this one and then the top part to be out of this. So I grabbed those two sheets. Cut a circle. This one is about 8 by 8. I didn't have a circle cutter, so just grab anything from your house, y'all. I used a strainer that I had in my kitchen, so I just cut that out. And then also grab another sheet of cardstock. You can either use anything you have in your stash. I'm using just plain cardstock. And then if you don't have that, you can just use the nutcracker paper, another sheet. What we're going to do is we're going to cut both of these down to, I think we're going to do 7 3/4 inches. So I'm just going to put those in my paper cutter and cut them both down. Okay. And we're going to build the structure part out of this one, and then we're going to go back on and add this paper too. So all you do to make the round part, it's so easy. This is so pliable already. I really don't even have to do anything. What I did is I just used regular tape from my stash. It's super, super quick. I don't see a reason to use anything else. So I'm just going to get the tape and I'm going to put it on the edge of this sheet right here to where when I roll it over, the other half will touch the other one. So just line it up halfway on the edge of your cardstock. Like that. I'm going to cut the excess off. You could take your time and put the tape on there where you don't have to cut any off, but I don't ever think anything through, so just cut the excess off. And now when you go to roll it together, this part will go there. Actually, I think I'm going to do it to the inside and then I'll do some on the outside as well, just so it's extra sturdy. So roll it to where this is going to be on the inside. And then just pull your other one over and line up your seams just like that. And you've already got like your structure part. So I'm going to go in here and push and make sure that tape is completely pressed against there. You could leave it like this if you wanted to. You already got your top part. I'm going to add one more strip of paper to the strip of tape to the outside of it, just so it's extra, extra sturdy. And then when you put your top designer paper on too, on the top, that really makes it sturdy. So I'm just going to run some tape down. I'm actually going to go to the inside of it too, so I'm going to overlap it a little bit. And then push it over to the inside. And I'm going to do the same thing to that end. If you guys have a fancier tape or something you prefer to use, go for it. Okay, so even though that looks really shiny, that's going to be completely covered up, so no worries. Okay, so we got our structure part ready to go. Now I'm just going to use ATG to adhere the designer paper on top of this one. If your tape is a little stiff, which I'm finding, I'm just bending it a little bit, and now it's perfect. So, okay, I'm just going to use ATG tape to adhere the top one. And I'm going to have this part on the inside because I actually fussy cut some of these ballerinas out, so I want this on the outside. Okay, and now I'm going to start to where I don't want my seam to line up in case some of that shiny tape shows through. So I'm actually going to start like about right here and just line this up. Okay, I'm just going to set it down here and I'm just going to roll it onto here using my hand on the inside to kind of make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, that is it, y'all. And you can see you do have a little bit of a seam, but it's really no big deal if this is going to be the back of it. If you wanted to get fancy and, you know, do something to cover that up, that is fine as well. Also, you could cut the gray one like 1/8 of an inch smaller, so you wouldn't have that, but that doesn't bother me at all. This is going to a family member, and if they complain, then they're just not getting one next year. Okay, so that is the top part of it, and you can see how it's going to look already. Okay, so for the top of our hat, I'm just going to trace this circle onto this paper and put it on top. Okay, I've got my circle cut out, and again I'm going back to the handy dandy tape. You can use whatever you want. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some along the edge like this and bend it back so when it goes to the inside it touches the inside tube and it keeps it straight. I'm just going to add 2 pieces for now, and I can add more in a second. Okay, I'm just going to line these up on top of my hat. Okay, and now I'm going to just barely pull up on this side. Put some more tape. Push it down in there. Okay, we're going to leave the tape how that is because what we're going to do is when we go in with our hot glue and lace, it really seals that, makes it really strong. So we're going to go ahead and adhere it to the base of it as well. Again, just using tape because we're going to put lace around that as well, so it's going to really, really make it more sturdy. So I'm just adding some tape pieces to the inside of it. Just like that. Okay, so we've got our structure, and now that the base part is completely done, I'm going to go into a fast forward of me doing the rest of it. And if you have any questions at the end of the video, just leave a comment below and I'll answer them. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is I'm just taking some hot glue and some lace, and I'm going around the base of the hat. And the hot glue just acts as a really sturdy adhesive so everything stays together because that tape just would not hold up. Normally, you can use any adhesive that you choose. I'm a big fan of hot glue, so I'm just adhering it all the way around. And I've taken some blue lace from my stash, and I'm adhering it from the bottom up so that sewn gathered part doesn't show, only the really pretty ruffly edge will show through on the bottom. So I'm just using hot glue again to go all the way around the base of it. And now I'm taking a frame from my stash and adhering it down there. I put the little nutcracker image in there from the paper line. And you can see I've also added some black flatback pearls around the base of the hat. And then there at the top I've added a couple of layers of laces and some bling trim from my stash as well. And that is what your resin brick wall will look like when you are done. I took it out of the mold a little bit before I should have, so that way it was still pliable. When your molds have set, or your resin pieces have set in there for as long as they should, they become really strong, and if you try to bend them, they will break. So if you take things out just a little bit before you should, they still have some movement to them. So I'm just adhering the brick wall around my curved hat. And I've done some fussy cutting. I fussy cut the little grandfather clock out here, and I've fussy cut the ballerinas out, which I do go in off camera. I didn't film it, but I added a ton of those ballerinas all over the place. You'll see me add a few here, but I added more afterwards. And I've taken a satin ribbon from my stash. It's a Mayarts ribbon, and I just tied it into a really pretty bow, and it's a wired ribbon, so I can really control how pretty it is. I love to use wired ribbons like this. You can kind of ruffle them up and they'll keep their form. And I'm just cutting a little fishtail shape on the bottom of my ribbons. And I'm adding a key and a cameo tucked in the back, and then the key I attach with some embroidery thread to the center of that ribbon. So that way it kind of dangles down from the hat. And now I'm taking some flowers and just adhering those down. That's just a black one from my stash. The other ones I use are the Petaloo ones from last month's kit, and I'm just adhering those all down with hot glue around the frame. And I'm taking some acrylic paint and a paintbrush, and I'm just kind of whitewashing over everything just to kind of soften it up and give it a snowy effect. And there's one of the little ballerinas I cut out, and I attach her there, and then, like I said, when I'm off camera, I do add a bunch of the other ballerinas on there. They're just too pretty. I love the images in this paper line. And I've taken a seam binding bow, and I'm adhering it to the top there, and I'm just going to kind of hot glue in different areas and control the way my ribbon falls down the side of the hat. And I do end up double layering that seam binding bow, so I put another one on top of this one in a minute. And again, cutting that little fishtail shape at the bottom of your ribbons really finishes it off. And now I'm taking a resin frame. I use the resin from this kit in a Martha Stewart mold. She sells a whole line of molds. It's really something to invest in, y'all, because they're made for, resins and clays, and you're not, copywriting anything. So I'm using that with the resin. And I painted it white. I'm just putting the little Sentiment Winter Wonderland in there. And like I said off camera, I do go in and add some more of the ballerinas. But this is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions at all on anything I've done here, just leave a comment and I will answer them. And I hope you guys try to do one. They really make a really cute house decoration or gift for someone. So I hope everybody has a beautiful day. Bye!